there any better place to celebrate a birthday than Walt Disney World? Today we're talking about my son's third birthday in the Magic Kingdom.
Welcome to Always Planning Disney, where planning is half the fun. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Cheryl.
On this channel, we talk through all of the details that go into making our vacations magical. So I guess to start, did you pick the birthday as the reason to go, or were you planning on going around this time and figured let's align it with the birthday?
Kind of both. So we had always considered this to be a birthday trip, even when we weren't sure if this was going to take place over his actual birthday. It was always sort of planned to be in celebration of our son's birthday. And that was partly because how fun is it to celebrate a birthday in Disney World? But it was also because of Disney World's rules that they are free under the age of 3. They're not fully free, but if you get to Walt Disney World before your child turns 3, they don't need park tickets for the length of your trip. And if you have the dining plan, at least how it was back in 2020, you did not have to pay for their dining plan for the length of the trip either. So that was a substantial cost savings for us. And it was a reason why we wanted to sneak a Disney trip in and make sure that we arrived before our son turns 3. So it was part that we wanted a lower crowd time and a less expensive travel time. Although, as we both know, it was super crowded in February 2020. So we had hoped that it was going to be a quieter time. It did not end up being the case. And so we wound up going over our son's birthday in February, and it just kind of worked out to be there for his actual birthday. It was about halfway through our trip when his birthday took place. So yeah, a little bit of both.
So I guess, how did you celebrate the birthday on that day? What park or parks did you go to?
We were in the Magic Kingdom all day long. And if you were around for our itineraries video, you know that we did a lot of park hopping on our last trip just to make it feel worth it to go back to our hotel for a nap. So this was actually the only time that we were only in one park for the entire day. And we just felt like Magic Kingdom is the place where he's going to have the most to do in terms of kid-friendly rides and just like seeing characters that he's interested in seeing, all of that good stuff. So it seemed like a really good place to be for the day. And we certainly had a full day there. So we started before the park even opened. We had breakfast reservations at Be Our Guest. And that was largely because I really wanted birthday photos with his little like birthday pin in front of the castle. So it felt really fancy. We got into the park early, and they don't let everybody in early. And we were able to try several photo locations because they already have those PhotoPass photographers up and running before the park is even open. And so I'm glad that we tried several of them, because some of them right in front of the castle, there were a lot of people in the background. It didn't really look like an empty park picture like I was hoping it would. And some of them more towards the side of the castle, they felt more like empty park pictures. So that was a fun thing to do. I don't know that it was necessary, because since that trip, I've seen some really good photo spots on like Facebook groups that it looks pretty much empty and they're taken in the middle of the day. So if you hit some of the side locations, I think you can still get that empty park effect, even without getting those early reservations or staying past park close. So since we were already partway through our trip, this took place about halfway through, we had a chance to kind of see how theme parks went for our son, and we found that he was pretty adventurous with rides. So we had done some of the more toddler friendly rides earlier in the trip in the Magic Kingdom. So we had done Winnie the Pooh already to see if he would be okay with that. We had done It's a Small World. So we were able to, on this day, do some of the like slightly scarier, but still definitely kid appropriate rides. So we did Pirates of the Caribbean. We did the Haunted Mansion. We also rode the carousel when it was kind of starting to get dark out. So the carousel was all lit up and he really enjoyed that. We got some good pictures there too. So lots of just like fun rides for his age group. We skipped anything that was going to be more adult friendly. So there was no carousel of progress. There was no Hall of Presidents because that would not have interested him at all. We had a Skipper Canteen reservation for lunch. This was not a birthday item necessarily. It was more, we really wanted to go to the Skipper Canteen, and that's when we were able to get a reservation that fit into our trip. So that wasn't for him really, but he still sat at the table and chatted with us and whatever. So he had a perfectly good time at the Skipper Canteen, and the adults really enjoyed the meal.
Did they do anything at breakfast or lunch that was, birthday celebration, dessert, singing?
They didn't, and he had his little pin on all day. But what I found on the trip was, so we had put a note in with our reservation that we were celebrating our son's birthday on this trip. So when we checked into our hotel, they gave us a pin right away. And I found in talking to other parents with kids who had birthday pins that some parents will have their kids wear the pin the entire trip because it's a birthday trip. And so I would say happy birthday, and they're like, oh, it's not until like later in the week or something like that. And so I don't know if it's sort of that birthday effect of like cast members see so many of these I'm celebrating buttons that like they're not making a big deal out of it every time. We only had him wear it on his actual birthday because that felt right to us, and it also felt less confusing for him because he was only turning 3 and like, when is my birthday after all? So I don't know, it might have been that, but yeah, we didn't get any singing or desserts or anything special like that. So after the Skipper Canteen, we actually managed to go back to the hotel and get a nap in. That was our plan for every day of the trip, but as I've mentioned in other videos, that didn't work out for us most days of the trip. So on his birthday it did. Thank goodness, because we all needed it. We had a very long day in the Magic Kingdom. So we were leaving the park. I believe as the parade was starting, we were leaving. So we were able to catch a little bit of the parade on our way out and then go back to the hotel for everyone to get some much needed rest.
Did you do presents or buy him anything special in the park?
We did get him one thing on the way back. Mostly the trip was his present, so we weren't getting him very much stuff. He did have some gift cards to burn as well, so he bought some stuff of his own. But we did get him his first set of Mickey ears at the hat shop in the Magic Kingdom, and we got them embroidered with his name. They were way too big for him. They should really make some smaller Mickey ears because even the youth size was so big on a 3-year-old. But it's a nice keepsake for him to have. And then earlier in the trip, he had gotten a little bit of pixie dust from our hotel, and they had given him one of those bubble wands for free, which was real nice. And so he was just like bubble wanding around the Magic Kingdom on his birthday, which also made him very happy.
And so how did you end up closing out the day?
The last thing that we did was we stayed up for the fireworks, and we hadn't done that much this trip because he was used to an earlier bedtime and we didn't want to be throwing his sleep schedule completely off. So this was really the latest night that we had planned of the trip, was staying up late for the fireworks on his birthday. And we kind of upped that by going to Tomorrowland Terrace for the fireworks viewing dessert party, which was so fun. It's also so expensive. So I was willing to pay a premium just because I wanted to have a place to sit down for the fireworks. I didn't want to stake out a spot in advance when we have like 3-year-old birthday boy. He's up past his bedtime. He has a small bladder. So like we can't be staking it out for 2 hours in advance because we're just going to be going back and forth to the bathroom anyway. So it was important to me that we had a place to sit down with a good view for everyone in our party to be able to enjoy it. And this wasn't the only time we had sweets that day, but it was nice to just like let him go crazy. He had all kinds of, they have lots of mini cupcakes there. So he had a bunch of cupcakes and ice cream, and he was being a 3-year-old and, trying a bite of this and a bite of that and making a mess of his plate. And it's just like, I don't care. It's an all-you-can-eat dessert party. If you don't finish one of your cupcakes, fine. Like, go ahead and try another one.
Did that one include adult beverages?
It did. They had just added them, I believe, at the beginning of the year or sometime in January. So yes, I had several glasses of champagne, of course, to celebrate his birthday and for no other reason. And I think my husband had a couple beers. So yes, they had adult beverages, and then they also had, you know, milk and juice and stuff like that for kids or for people who didn't want to have alcoholic beverages. So there were nice options. And there were also some savory things so that we weren't only loading up on sugar. We were able to balance it out a little bit for our own stomach's sake. So getting back to the like, was there any special thing? I noticed at this dessert party that there were several other kids celebrating birthdays, and the cast members would go and sing to them at their tables. And we mentioned our son's birthday when we were seated by our cast member, but I don't know if they just like didn't hear us or what, because there was no deal made of it at all. Like there was no singing, there was no wishing of happy birthday. Like it was just very surprising, I think, for like what you normally expect at Disney World. But we did get good seats. So there are seats sort of at the outside edge of the Tomorrowland Terrace and then further in. And so we got some at the outside edge that weren't obstructed by other people's heads. So honestly, I'd rather have good seats than strangers sing my kid happy birthday anyway. So we just sang it for him. Yeah, so we had a lovely time there. And then as soon as the fireworks were done, by that point, the dessert party is packed up and you're kind of sent on your way right away. You can't continue snacking after park close. So we got back to the room as quickly as we can because he was already up late. And I'm pretty sure this was the night that we had a crowded bus and he fell asleep on my lap, even though there were people right next to us being really loud. So he was very tired from the long day, but he was a happy birthday boy.
Oh, that's so nice. And did he have an okay time waking up and surviving the following day?
As far as I remember, he did. Yeah, he did pretty well when on the couple times that he fell asleep on the bus. We didn't need to like wake him up when we got back or anything. He just went straight into the bed. So he didn't have any trouble with transferring because he was just so Disney tired. So I think he did fine the next morning because he had wound up getting probably about the same amount of sleep as he would have if we had gotten on back on time and taken a bath.
Not bad. All right, so what is your final takeaway, recommendations, things to avoid if anyone else is celebrating a birthday?
Yeah, and it's so much fun to celebrate a birthday at Disney. So I hope we get to do it again. This was one of the only park days that went to plan in terms of like doing the things we plan to do, going back to the resort and taking a rest in the middle of the day, all of that stuff. It all went to plan. And as far as I can remember, you know, a couple of years later here, it went really well. So that plan worked for us. I'm glad that we didn't try to do a true park open to park close, because I think that in combination with the birthday excitement would have been far too much, and we would have been dealing with meltdowns by the time we were eating cupcakes. That's not what you want. So I'm glad that we paid attention to our kid there. I'm glad that we got the nap. We all got the nap, really, because it wouldn't have been manageable otherwise, for me included. So like we all needed that midday break. I'll say the dessert party was not necessary because he was 3. We could have spent $6 on a cupcake from the Main Street Bakery and he would have been just as happy with that. But it was a really nice experience, and I would definitely consider doing a dessert party again, but maybe not at the Magic Kingdom, just because now the projections go all the way down Main Street. So you're missing part of the show if you're at Tomorrowland Terrace and only seeing the castle area. So I would consider maybe doing the one at Epcot, which last I looked at it, it also included ride entry for Frozen Ever After. So if they keep doing that, that's kind of nice to like watch the fireworks and then go straight onto the ride and not have to worry about that as one of your lines. So
we're gonna have to talk about this because dessert parties, I mean, not talk about it now, in the future at some point, because dessert parties have been on my maybe list for a while, especially with the addition of alcohol at this point.
mm-hmm.
And tossing in a Frozen Ever After, even though We know Jack does not like that ride, but that is a hot ride to get into. The line is either long or right now you have to pay extra for it. So that makes that Epcot dessert party look even more attractive. So when we get closer to our trips, we definitely have to talk dessert parties.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if they keep that as an option now that we have like these other paid options to skip the line. Like, is it still going to be part of the dessert party, or do they want us to pay for it a la carte? I don't know.
All right.
Ooh, yeah, we'll have to keep an eye out, but that's one I would watch. And I'll say just in general about dessert parties that it's important to know what you're getting when you book that dessert party, because they are vastly different in different parks. And even within the Magic Kingdom, there are several different dessert parties, and some of them you get to sit down for the show in the same place where you ate. Some of them you're brought to a designated viewing area, and so you don't have a table and chairs there. So it's good to know what you're getting. It's good to know if you're getting a sort of dessert buffet, or if when they had one for Fantasmic, you got just sort of a box lunch basically of desserts. You didn't get to like pick and choose your own. You just got one set box, and it was much less expensive, but it was a very different experience. So it's important to know what you're getting with them. Yeah. So I guess the last thing is that this wasn't the completely like kid-centric all the time day that I had envisioned. I kind of thought, oh, everything that we do is going to be like the stuff that he would like the best. But just with how dining reservations landed, that's not quite how it ended up being. And that was okay, because he was 3. He hadn't been there before. He didn't know what he liked and he didn't like. So he was able to just like go with the flow and do whatever we were going to do. He's not going to be sitting at the Skipper Canteen whining that he wants to eat at some other restaurant that he likes, because he doesn't know what other restaurant he likes yet. So it all worked out, and he had a wonderful birthday.
It's such a lovely birthday. I'm glad that it worked out, the timing of when you wanted to go, and 3rd birthday especially, because you got to get him in there for free.
Yeah.
Always a bonus.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was a great trip. All right, thanks so much for tuning in, and remember to like and subscribe to plan along with us.